Well, hello, good people. How you doing? I hope you're enjoying the instructional materials so far. And right now I'm going to spend a little bit of time going into an introduction on the modes of the major scale. Before we could start playing them, it's important to have a really firm grasp and understanding of them. And like I mentioned before in the introduction, there's a lot of negativity about the modes, that they're very complex and this ogre and they're so hard and I can't do it. And let's take all that ball up, trash, throw it away. Because we are going to get you playing in the modes today, people. Today. Not next month, 6 months from now. Today. All right? So I'm going to make it very, very simple. Break it down into digestible pieces. And you're going to understand this and start using it and applying it in your playing. The modes of the major scale. When I say modes of the major scale, that's all of these Greek names, which you probably heard of before. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Those are Greek names. Okay, and they have a certain order to them, and we're going to talk about each one in depth, and when you can use it, and how, and why, and over what progressions and what chords, okay? So remember this. All the modes are just variations of the major scale. If you know your major scales, like I keep saying up and down the neck, you know your modes. Anytime you start a major scale, on anything other than the root note. Remember, major scale is 7 notes, and the major scale is the standard that everything is compared to in music theory. It all falls back to the major scale, and we all know the major scale: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. No, 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 no. Okay. Now, the modes are just variations of that scale. So anytime you're playing, emphasizing a note, and starting a note other than the root note, you're playing in the modes, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. And the reason why they're so important is because each mode has a different mood to it, and will give you a totally different sound over what you're playing, and just open up the fretboard and open up all kinds of doors to you as a guitar player and a musician. Okay? And in order to get to the next level, in my opinion, if you're already playing minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, maybe some major scales here and there, in order to get to the next level, you really have to start playing in the modes. So it's a worthwhile investment in your time to study this, and I'm going to do it and make it happen for you quickly. Okay? So let's turn to our handy-dandy whiteboard here, because we're very high-tech. What do you think, Rob? Are we high-tech here at Next Level? Yeah, very high-tech. Okay? So when we talk about the modes of the major scale, the modes always appear in a certain order. No matter what key you're talking about, the order stays the same. So the first thing you have to memorize is the order of the modes. That is critical to understanding these concepts and how to play in them. There's basically 3 steps that I use and I teach to get you playing in the modes. And in order to use those 3 steps, you have to know a couple things. One is you got to know the mode names and the order. Okay? There's 7 modes, 1 for each note of the major scale, okay? And these modes are always in this order, okay? The first mode is called Ionian, which is also major. They're synonymous. Major scale, Ionian mode, same thing. Ionian is the first mode, and that's a very major mode, obviously. It's the most major. The modes, for the most part, I want you to think of them as either minor or major. That will help you because you'll know when to use them when you're playing over a minor chord, family chord, or a major family chord, or a minor key progression or a major key progression. So you want to memorize the order of the modes and if they're generally a minor or major mode for the most part, because some modes you can use in both instances over minor and major chords. Okay. First mode in any major key is always Ionian, which is major. That's the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If you start any major scale on the second note, the second mode is always Dorian. That's the second mode in any major key. It's always number 2. So you want to memorize Dorian is second. And Dorian is more of a minor mode. Okay, although you can use it in some major instances, but generally it's more minor. Play it over minor chords more. The third mode is Phrygian. That's a minor mode, very minor mode. And you could use that over some major chords too, but generally you're going to be playing over minor 7s, minor chords. Phrygian. So you memorize the third mode in any major key is Phrygian. 3 Phrygian, and memorize it minor. Fourth mode is Lydian. And Lydian's a very major mode. In fact, it's almost the same as a major scale, except that it has a sharp 4. Remember your Ionian, your major scale is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Lydian is 1, 2, 3, sharp 4. 5, 6, 7. So it's almost exactly the same as Ionian, except it has a sharp 4 or a flat 5. Technically speaking, it's a sharp 4. So that's going to give you a little different hip note in there, depending on what the progression is. So Lydian is very cool. Major mode, the fourth mode. The fifth mode is mixolydian. That is also a major mode. And mixolydian is the mode of choice when you're playing over like 7th and 9th chords, because the interval structure of mixolydian is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. It's just like a major scale, or just like the Ionian mode, except it has a flat 7th. That's why it sounds so good over 7th and 9th chords, because those chords have flat 7s in them, dominant chords, right? So mixolydian is the fifth mode. That's all you want to remember right now, and that it's a major mode. Your sixth mode is aeolian, which is a minor mode. In fact, that's also called pure minor, or your minor scale, or natural minor. It's also, though it's synonymous with aeolian. Natural minor, pure minor. Relative minor, your sixth. Play any major scale, go to the sixth note in that, and that's the relative minor, or the aeolian mode. Okay, and the seventh mode is the most dissonant of all modes because it has so many flats in it. It's Locrian mode. You may not be using that a lot in rock, maybe some riffs and stuff, but it's a lot of times used more in jazz or over minor 7 flat 5 chords. Or it's very cool, but it's very dissonant. So that's your seventh mode. So all I want you to remember right now is the order of the modes, and if they're minor or major. Okay? Now I have all these things written down for you in the handout that goes along with this module. Okay? So you could download and print this out, so you'll have this written down. Okay? And it talks about each mode and an overview of basically what I'm saying here to you right now. So I have those handouts for you because it's important that this being a little bit more advanced, you're going to have to read it a few times, go over this, maybe rewind this module to really get the full benefit and to totally let this sink in. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take a little bit of time. So for now, remember, first mode in any major key, Ionian, which is the major scale, major mode. Second mode, any major scale, is Dorian, more minor. Third mode, any major key, Phrygian, minor. Fourth mode, any major key, Lydian, which is major. Fifth mode, in any major key, mixolydian, which is major mode. Sixth mode, aeolian, which is your relative minor or pure minor. Seventh mode, Locrian, which again is a minor mode. Okay, so basically you have your 3 more major modes, and 4 are more minor modes. All right, so memorize that order. These are all the modes of the major scale 7, and we're going to be using them a lot. If you're a rock blues type player, funk, more rock blues, funky, alternative, kind of like in my vein, with maybe a little bit of jazz sprinkled in, you're really going to want to get to know Dorian, obviously your major, mixolydian, and aeolian. Those are the 4 most important ones if you're playing more in a rock kind of context, blues, you know, mixolydian over 7th chords, your aeolian, your natural minor, Dorian, aeolian. If you're playing in a lot of metal, or if you like a lot of times in metal they use the Phrygian mode a lot. It's a real good mode to learn, as is another scale we can get to later called harmonic minor. Because remember, there's 3 kinds of minor scales. Aeolian, which is the one we're talking about, natural minor, then there's melodic minor and harmonic minor that we'll get to later. Harmonic minor is really cool, very exotic sounding scale, but you want to use Phrygian a lot if you're into metal. And Locrian, definitely if you're into more jazzy stuff, the Locrian mode comes in really handy. And sometimes you can get some cool riffs in there, like Metallica wrote some riffs and some songs off of that Locrian mode. Lydian sounds nice in jazz and in some rock, especially over major 7th chords. I really like that. So each mode has a purpose, each mode has a mood, and each mode will give you a totally different sound. Okay, so download those materials. Remember, we're taking this in bite-sized, digestible chunks. You don't want to get too much thrown at you at once, because I really want you to understand this, because there's so much negativity about the modes, and they're so beautiful and wonderful, and you're going to be amazed at how fast you're going to be using them in your playing if you just study these modules in order and then apply it on the guitar like we're going to show you. Okay? Get these down, and then we'll see you in the next module. Take care.